All right, welcome to the Sports Mashup number 84, November 2nd, 2022. First one of November. Really have the sports calendar going in the next few months. So this could be longer than normal episodes, maybe consistently. We'll find out, I suppose. Let's start in the NBA, where you have Darius Garland, first practice since suffering his eye injury for the Cavs. Big game for the Cavs tonight against the Celtics. Potential Eastern Conference Finals preview in November. You never know. But
I think the Cat. I can't remember the Cavs or the Celtics were the 1 point favorite in tonight's game.
Celtics -1 on the road. But I think it helps Cleveland that they have Donovan Mitchell there. So I feel like that's a huge factor for their success as well. The 76ers, they lose 2 second-round picks after an NBA investigation. It was for early discussions with players before free agency was open, so tampering, I suppose.
One
would
was
be the
PJ
term.
Tucker. I didn't even recognize the other guy's name.
Well, I don't think anybody's really surprised by this.
No. And then, I mean, this is what's shocking is that the Nets fire head coach Steve Nash, and they are hiring Ime Udoka, the head coach who is going to start the year as the Celtics head coach before he was suspended.
Yeah, I'm disappointed for my guy, Steve Nash. I'm sure he's relieved given the circus that is that organization and being there in the last few years. Especially it's going to be even more now with Udoka coming in. And I'll say this,
But I think Udoka was there before.
Before he went to Boston?
Yeah.
Could be. I don't remember.
But I thought that I'd read that he was coming back. I did see that KD said he was shocked that they fired Steve Nash.
Yeah, that could be a lie, but you never know. The Nets are off to a bad start. It's just been a complete disaster there. I think blowing it up might have been the right move over the summer, distancing yourself from Kyrie Irving. And yeah, he was an assistant there for a couple seasons. So he went from being an assistant for the Nets to head coach for the Celtics, back to the Nets as their head coach. So very interesting, very interesting. I don't know that this is going to help the fact that the Nets are a complete circus. But Udoka had success last season. Obviously, the reason that he's not with the Celtics anymore and the reason that the Celtics just let him go has nothing to do with basketball. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I feel like the Nets are headed towards a serious blow-up. And I think you got to get as many picks as possible if you're the Nets because there's really no young, high-level talent there right now.
And they've started this year without Seth Curry as well. He's been hurt.
Yeah, and what's their record? 2-6, I think.
Ben Simmons won't shoot, even though Kyrie gave him the ball inside the charge circle, and he still passed it out for someone to shoot a three when he was wide open for a layup.
They've had like the same issues every single season they've had Kyrie and KD there. So at what point do you just give up and move on? Because I don't know. I mean, how badly did Kyrie want to come back in the summer? KD didn't want to come back. So it's an ugly situation.
Yeah, I don't know. But lastly, in the NBA, there was a thing, points per game in the first 6 starts. 3 of these guys you definitely, or you know all of them. Jordan's on here, Shaq's on here, and Allen Iverson's on here. Who do you think had the least amount of points per game between the 3 of them in their first 6 starts?
Jordan.
Yep, he's at number 5 at 23.5 points per game.
I figured there had to be an unexpected answer there with that one.
Shaq is at number 2 with 26.3. Allen Iverson's at 23.7. Number 1 is shocking. It's Jeremy Lin at 26.8. But Paolo Banchero, number 4, tied Jordan at 23.5 points per game in his first 6 starts.
And he's playing for a Magic team that might not win 10 games. I mean, if you watch them play, Jesus, they're bad.
But his first game, he did put somebody on a poster.
I did see that, yeah. I will say this about the Magic. I've not watched very much of them, but I assume they're very bad. A lot of young talent, though. I mean, they got Wagner from last year's draft, obviously Banchero there.
Those two have been what seem to have been carrying the team so far.
Yeah, they're going to be bad, though, no doubt. They're just a really, really young. They're similar to OKC, except
Wendell
I think OKC's further along.
Wendell Carter's back or down there now after He was drafted from the Bulls.
Vucevic trade. Yeah.
He's been playing well.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe a few years from now. I mean, the Thunder look pretty good, and they were in a similar situation a couple years ago with the amount of young players they have. You just need to have one that sticks out and leads the team like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did for them. It could be Bonchero a couple years from now. So, all right, let's go to the NFL, where the trade deadline has become kind of like a show now. There's actual trades, significant players being moved now. That hasn't always been the case.
There's 12 big trades and then 2 signings.
Yeah. The first one we'll get to here is Robert Quinn going from the Bears to the Eagles for a 4th in 2023. Pretty much a trade where the Bears should have moved him last in the offseason, coming off of a huge season. Now he hasn't been as good this year. They only get a 4th. So
no, now they've lost 3/4 of their defensive front from last year.
Yeah.
Akeem Hicks, Quinn, and then your next one will be the 3rd. Kadarius Toney from the Giants to the Chiefs for a 2023 third-round compensatory and a 6th-round pick.
Kadarius Toney.
So what does it even mean on that 3rd-round pick?
I'm assuming it has
like 3rd-round plus money, or
I assume
it wasn't a conditional pick.
Yeah, I assume that it has something to do with the Chiefs getting a compensatory pick from I don't know if it would be the Tyreek Hill, because it would maybe the Tyrann Mathieu, losing him, get a comp pick for that in free agency, because usually teams get comp picks for losing players in free agency, so it has to be someone that they lost, and Tyrann Mathieu's like the only one I can think of significance, so it could be that. But Kadarius Toney, I assume he's going to be better with the Chiefs if he's healthy. He hasn't been healthy with the Giants. He showed flashes, but he just hasn't even been close to being able to consistently be on the field. So I think this is a good move for him. And if you're the Giants getting something back, I feel like that's good.
Yeah, but how much does this hurt them? Because Toney was hurt.
Yeah.
And then they weren't even really doing anything with Galladay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they are a team that's figured out how to win without having explosive receivers down the field, but I think they're going to learn that they need that.
That was until this past week.
Yeah. You also had Roquan Smith from the Bears to the Ravens for linebacker A.J. Klein and a 2nd and a 5th-round pick in 2023. I think the only question for this move is the Bears are going to have a ton of cap space, so it's a little bit surprising that they're not going to try to keep Roquan Smith around long term.
Who's leading the NFL in tackles.
Yeah.
Who was shocked by getting traded. He wanted paid before the year, but still showed up and was playing, doing everything he could. And now, I don't know if the Ravens are doing this because they think Calais Campbell's going to be out longer.
I don't know.
What.
Yeah,
but this picture... This was after that Roquan Smith trade. The Bears draft picks in 2023. They have a 1st round, which is their own, a 2nd round, which is their own, 2nd round from the Ravens, a 3rd round that's their own, 4th round that's their own, a 4th round from the Eagles, their own 5th round, a 5th round from the Ravens, and a 7th round, which is their own, plus over $100 million in salary cap.
Well, Ryan Poles, the GM there now, has a chance to make this his own team, and we'll see if he does that.
To build around Singletary and Fields. And I guess their off-season wide receiver signings and Valdez-Scantling and – or no, not Valdez-Scantling and why do I always forget who they got from the Packers?
Equinemius St. Brown.
Yeah, St. Brown, and then that's who else? What other receiver do they get in the offseason?
I don't remember. They got a lot of lower level ones.
Or they dealt the one to the Steelers who got hurt, Kevin White.
Anthony Miller.
Yes. They dealt away him, got rid of Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
See, I mean, open up a lot. And then another one, a trade that didn't happen. The Rams supposedly offered 2 first-round picks to the Panthers for Brian Burns. That's how hard stuck on them that they are not getting rid of him. Turned down 2 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna build your defense around the guy, then I guess you do that. But I would have taken the 2 first probably. Even though the problem with that is that the Rams don't have a first round pick for a couple more years, so it probably would have been first round picks down the road. So I understand not taking that.
And then you're just trying to replace Brian Burns with the loss of Von Miller.
Yeah.
You had Bradley Chubb from the Broncos to the Dolphins. The Dolphins get Chubb in a 2025 fifth-round pick. The Broncos get running back Chase Edmonds, a 2023 first from the Niners, and a 2024 fourth.
Solid move.
I'm surprised they dealt Chubb, but
yeah, if you can get a first, you probably just take it and figure it out from there. It's like the Broncos have never struggled to find good defensive players or have a good defense. So
and losing their other running was it Javonte Williams?
Javonte Williams, yeah.
So you get Chase Edmonds in there.
Yeah, and then just when you think that the Dolphins are going to roll with Raheem Mostert, they trade for a running back as well. So,
yeah. But Chase Edmonds, didn't he start for the 49ers? So maybe Mike McDaniels has. Or no, I guess he left.
Started for the Dolphins. He was with Arizona first last year or a couple years ago. But then you had Chase Claypool from the Steelers to the Bears for a 2023 second. And this is a complete overpay if I've ever seen one, but I guess the Bears – this seemed to me more the Bears trying to outbid the Packers and keep him away from Green Bay than anything, but I'm not going to, get all wrapped up in that because I don't know if that's the case, but that seems kind of what it was like. And the Steelers pretty much allegedly – I mean, a lot of Steelers people reported this pretty much – they think the Bears pick is going to be better than the Packers pick in the second round. Packers offered a second. And in typical fashion, the Packers finished second for another player, which I'm fine with. I mean, a second for Claypool is too much.
Yeah, so it was a Bears podcast or whatever. This was before the trade happened. He compared Chase Claypool to Justin Jefferson.
I mean, it's asinine. It's not even close. But
the only thing he did say, though, he's like, he's only played for Broke Arm Ben, Mitch Trubisky, and then Kenny Pickett.
Clever. Well, I'll say this. I don't think Justin Fields is much better than those guys right now. So, I mean, you can praise Fields all you want. I agree there's something there they can win with him, I think, probably. But, I mean, he still lacks in the accuracy department. I mean, I don't know why they're acting like Fields is an established quarterback.
But this does give him a big target because Claypool is a big receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be – we'll see. I mean, I just think that they gave up too much.
Calvin Ridley, suspended for the year, is traded from the Falcons to the Jaguars for an at max 2023 fifth round and 2024 second round. These are both conditional picks, but at max, that is what they will be.
I mean, I'm not surprised that that they decided to move on. If you're Atlanta, I think that's fine. You get something back for him, you take it. He hasn't played in a long time, so it makes sense.
It's like, where in this trade deadline do you trade picks away for a suspended player?
It's true. I mean,
so the guy hasn't played basically in 2 years, and he's just gonna come in.
Well, there's a lot of conditional deals with this. I think at the one that gets to a second round pick if he signs there long term, I think. So,
and the game he bet on last year was the Falcons to beat the Jags.
Poetic. It's poetic.
And this one you have to love
Yeah. Well,
interdivision in your own fan base division.
yeah, this was a bit of a surprising one. TJ Hawkinson from the Lions of the Vikings. The Vikings get Hawkinson and a fourth for 2023, conditional 2024 third. Lions get 2023 second and 2024 third. So if you're the Lions, you get some value back here. I don't think Hawkinson is quite as good as was expected. He's a good player, there's no doubt. And if you're the Vikings, you're getting very aggressive here, going all in on Kirk Cousins. So we'll see how it works
Well,
out.
you lost Irv Smith for
Yep.
4 to
8 to
5
10
weeks with an ankle.
I think it's 8 to 10.
Yesterday it was 4 to 5.
Well, I heard 8 to
But
10.
you get Hawkinson, who's also not just a receiving. He's an Iowa guy, kind of like Kittle. He likes blocking. But it was a young guy. He was the 8th overall pick from the Lions, a young guy from them to build around him and St. Brown. And now they're like, yeah, let's just get rid of everything.
Yeah, I understand it, but it's still a little bit puzzling or surprising that they did it.
And then this trade tore Pat McAfee apart. Nyheim Hines from the Colts to the Bills for Zach Moss in a 2023 conditional 5th round pick. He goes, I get a guy who can do everything, who's underutilized from the Colts, but is good for the community and returns punts and kickoffs. Now going to the Bills and we get Zach Moss. And when someone kept adding Zach Moss, I think it was Boston Connor, and he's like, yeah, but does Zach Moss return kicks? I didn't think so. He said even Nyheim Hines, when he goes that return, he said, I'm all right. I'm all right if I die on this play.
Well, the Bills will be able to use him more. I don't know if they will. I mean, they have Singletary and James Cook, but we'll see.
But I think him being able to be used in the return game and as a way better scat back than either of those two guys, like he could turn into how Eckler started or some of those other like Darren Sproles type, just get him open on a little inside slant and on a motion play. Yeah, and then he's got so much speed, he's gone.
Yeah, I think the Bills will be able to use him well. These last few trades, there's really no real analysis to have here. So Rashad Fenton that's cornerback Rashad Fenton from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Falcons for a conditional 2023 7th, pretty much a player that lost his spot, I would say.
Yeah, basically this is opening up some money from the Chiefs in the early trade for Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
And then you had Jeff Wilson Jr. from the 49ers to the Dolphins for a 2023 5th round pick. So they replace Chase Edmonds with Jeff Wilson Jr., a guy who Mike McDaniels has worked with in the past.
Yep. Defensive end, I believe it's Jacob Martin, and a 2024 5th from the Jets to the Broncos for 2024 4th. The Broncos replacing Chubb because they're really thin at pass rusher now, pretty much.
Yeah, cornerback William Jackson III and a 2025 conditional 7th round from Washington to Pittsburgh for a 2025 conditional 6th. This is trying to fill the depth that the Steelers need at corner.
Then you had Josh Gordon signed with the Titans practice squad.
And Willie Snead signs with the 49ers.
A couple of troubled wide receivers. We'll see if they get to play. Who knows?
And then on the Vikings schedule, 7 of the final 11 quarterbacks on their schedule: Taylor Heineke, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Jared Goff, Sam Ehlinger, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields.
We'll see.
Kind of sounds like smooth sailing for the Vikings, but
they'll never have their slip ups here and there. I think they'll win the division, but I don't think that they'll.
I mean, yeah, the Heineke one, you never know there. Jared Goff, that should be a gimme game for them, especially with Hawkinson coming back to play.
They got Mac Jones / Bailey Zappi. You never know who it's going to be. They got that's a Thanksgiving game. So
you
you
got
never
Zach
know.
Wilson.
Fields and Wilson are wild cards.
And then Daniel Jones. You don't know what Giants team
Another
is showing
one.
up.
Yeah, and then I guess who are the other four? Rogers again,
No, Sam Ellinger. That was
Ellinger,
7 of the final 11.
but the other four quarterbacks would be
They didn't.
Rogers, and then they got Josh Allen, I'm pretty sure. Uh, they got
I thought they already played the Bills. I thought that's who their one losses to.
November 13th. Their losses to the Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
2. They got Dak, Josh Allen, Rogers, and I think that's it. Because I don't see another. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. Let's do the Week 8 recap.
And Christian
Thursday night.
McCaffrey is the first player in Super Bowl era to have 30-plus yards and a rushing touchdown, receiving, and a passing touchdown in a single game.
It's worked so far for them.
Yeah. But yeah, Thursday night you had the Ravens beat the Bucs 27-22. Bucs started strong and then stalled. Ravens ran and dumped all over the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it was another tough performance for Tampa. I think that's pretty much them and the Packers and maybe even the Rams really, really need to get a win this week. If they don't, it's a
but the
really
Bucs
tough
are
spot.
playing the Rams.
That is true. I forgot about that. And the Packers are playing the Lions, so
But who knows if Cooper Kupp's going to be playing with his ankle issue?
You know what? I think this is the week for the Bucs. I thought about picking them. I didn't, but
somehow they're the 3-point favorite. I don't know how they're staying the favorite after losing 3 in a row, but
the Rams have been bad too. That's what they got going for them. So, London game, Broncos beat the Jags 21-17. The Jags continue to struggle in fourth quarters. They're one of the worst teams in the league in the fourth quarter. I still think the Broncos stink. This doesn't tell me much. I mean, Russ Wilson had his moments, but this is still not a good football team in my eyes.
No. I watched like the first quarter of this game and then took a little nap till the rest of the game started.
Yeah, it was a bad game.
The Falcons beat the Panthers 37-34 in overtime. DJ Moore made a great 60-yard touchdown to tie, but then takes his helmet off in the end zone to celebrate, gets a big penalty. Pinheiro misses the long field goal, then misses a closer field goal, end overtime, and Young Koo comes and does what he does.
Well, I'll say this. If you're the Panthers and you're a Panthers fan, you're trying to tank a little bit, have a little fun, still lose. I feel like that's not that bad of a result for them.
No, PJ Walker has been playing well.
Yeah, maybe he's the guy. You never know. The Cowboys beat the Bears 49-29. Bears offense, I think, is improving. They're scoring points. Defense is a problem, especially with how much they've gutted that defense up front in the last 2 years. With Mack being traded in the summer, letting Hicks go, trading Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. The front is gutted. Secondary is not too bad.
And was the Robert Quinn trade done before this game?
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't look very good.
Yeah, their defense is a problem.
And I believe the Cowboys' offense looks way better with Tony Pollard being the starting running back.
Yep, I agree.
I understand. Yes, Zeke is still a really good running back in the league, but he just does not seem to fit into that offense.
Yeah, I agree.
As well as Tony Pollard does.
They need a little bit more speed. They like to get to the outside. And yeah, I feel like signing Zeke to that deal was probably the wrong move, but who knows?
If Pollard isn't locked up, some team needs to pay him some money.
Yeah, I think they will.
Then you had the Dolphins beat the Lions 31-27. The Dolphins abused the Lions secondary so bad the Lions fired their defensive back coach after the game.
Yeah, this was a very high-flying game early. There was a lot of points scored right away. I think the first 5 drives of the game might have been touchdown drives. But yeah, Tyreek Hill is he's a weapon. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, him and Waddle both.
Yeah.
And then you get down to the end zone, you have those two speedsters, and then Mike Gesicki just standing around saying, I'm a big guy out here. Just throw it up if you need me.
Yep. The Vikings beat the Cardinals 34-26. Cardinals blow a few chances to win. The Vikings continue to rack up wins. I mean, Arizona had a chance. DeAndre Hopkins was really, really good in this game. Made a couple really great catches. But Arizona they're just not a very good football team. They should be much better than they are.
Which, maybe another week under practice, which I did learn that we discussed about. DeAndre Hopkins was not able to practice while he was suspended.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, I would have probably guessed that, but
so him getting some more practice time,
yeah, definitely helped.
The Saints blanked the Raiders 24-0. Kamara finally finds the end zone 3 times, in fact, and the Raiders looked horrible.
The Raiders
Darren Waller still sitting
terrible.
out. Hunter Renfrow, I believe, had 1 catch for 6 yards. Derek Carr looked awful. They brought him their backup at one point.
This season has been a total failure for the Raiders. Just terrible. I mean, I feel like McDaniel's already lost that team.
Yeah, Bisecchia, his team might be looking a little different if he was at the helm.
Could be, yeah. Patriots do what they do, which is beat the Jets 22-17. Jets aren't all the way back yet. Zach Wilson throws 3 interceptions in Belichick's 13th straight win over the Jets. I don't know. I mean, Zach Wilson's inconsistent. The Jets are a much better football team when they're able to rely on running the football rather than keeping it in Wilson's hands. And this was pretty much on display in this game.
Yeah, they just didn't have much time with James Robinson being traded late in the week.
I think the Breece Hall injury might have screwed up this offense.
Yeah, I mean, James Robinson could fill that void to a limit, but him being there for only a couple of days.
Well, the good thing is they also have Michael Carter, who's a pretty good back and a little bit similar to Hall. So they can figure that out, I'm sure.
Yeah, you would hope. There was a stat earlier I saw. It was a comparison between Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson over their first 17 starts. And they're pretty similar.
That seems right, yeah.
You had the Eagles beat the Steelers 35-13. A.J. Brown catches 3 touchdowns, and the Eagles stay undefeated.
This was not a game from the start. I mean, the Eagles are just so much better.
No. The Steelers' only touchdown was on a trick play. It was or not even a reverse. What do they call those? It's not a handoff. It's actually called a pass.
Touch pass?
Yeah, where he just catches it and drops it, and Claypool threw it to – I don't even remember who he threw it to.
I don't remember either. But, yeah, it wasn't a game. A.J. Brown's former team, the Titans, beat the Texans 17-10. Derrick Henry owns the Texans. 4 straight games against the Texans with 200 rushing yards.
Yeah. And he tied Eddie George's record for most games consecutively against the same team with 2 rushing touchdowns, which he's done it 4 times straight against the Texans.
Pretty good, yeah.
I don't remember who Eddie George's was against.
But yeah, the Titans kind of figured their season out, so things are evening out in that division, but now they go into Kansas City on Sunday night, so we'll find out a little bit more about them.
Yeah, the teams that we talked about at the beginning of the year thinking they might win the division have totally flipped.
Yeah, things are starting to come back down to
Colts and Jags back down at the bottom.
Yep.
Oh, coming right into that. The Commanders beat the Colts 17-16. Heineke throws a late bomb to Scary Terry to get to the 1, and then Heineke sneaks it in. And then Michael Pittman Jr. drops an absolute dime from Sam Ehlinger that would have got them to at least the 45 on the
I
other side of the 50. I mean, no excuse. Perfectly led, right in the hands, drops it.
This all ends with Frank Reich being fired, I think, for Indy. They've just been terrible. Their roster's too good to be this bad. And I think a big factor is probably the fact that they just fired their OC after this game. And I think that eventually leads to them firing Reich as well. So I think it's over for him there eventually. But this is just another terrible loss. And Washington wins another game where you're like, they probably shouldn't win that game, but they do. And they've been much better with Heineke at quarterback over Wentz, which isn't a surprise to most people, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. 49ers beat the Rams 31 to, or that's you. Ooh.
I guess it is, yes. The Niners beat the Rams 31-14. McCaffrey does it all. He throws one, runs one, catches one, just a beat down. And the Rams always struggle against the Niners. I didn't think it would happen this week, given that it was in LA, but just another case where it happens again.
And McCaffrey's pass wasn't like it was a flutter either. Like he threw a good ball, led Ayuk right on the dot.
Yep, pretty good.
The Seahawks beat the Giants 27-13. Seahawks knocked the Giants down a peg, giving them their second loss. Still my questions about Seattle, but
they found a way to win.
Beating a 6-1 Giants team says a lot, but
they find ways to win.
Tyler Lockett actually had a good game. DK Metcalf scored.
Yeah,
Geno's getting it done.
They are doing it.
And all of a sudden, we talked about thinking that Drew Lock was going to be their quarterback, and now Geno's showing us that we should have shut our mouths in the summer.
That is true. That is true. All right. The Bills beat the Packers 27-17 on Sunday Night Football. The Packers offense moved the ball, but their defense was brutal in the first half. I think the game was a little bit closer than the score indicates. Obviously, the OPI on Tunyon wiped out a touchdown, but the Packers defense is much better in the second half.
It killed me in fantasy. I'm like, yes, Tunyon's getting me close.
It was a terrible call, too.
I had Nick Chubb going Monday, and my opponent was done with anybody. And then when Tunyon got that called off, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yep, the refs, terrible call.
But I don't think he pushed him. It looked like the corner tripped.
His hand fighting as well before that. Stupid call.
But yeah, I mean, the Bills are just putting up impressive numbers, just like the Chiefs, and then adding Nyheim Hines to that.
I bet they get OBJ too.
I don't know if you want that headache.
I don't think it'll be a headache.
Who knows when they'll be able to play?
Probably a month and a half or so.
I don't know. And if they have that cap space.
They do.
But Monday Night Football, you had the Browns beat the Bengals 32-13. Browns D holds strong, only allowing 13 points in the fourth quarter. And Nick Chubb ran for, I believe, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Amari Cooper tried throwing a pass, threw a pick.
No Jamar Chase for the Bengals. Bit of a factor here, it appears. I think the Bengals will be fine, but I also think the Browns were due for one. That's why I picked them. So I'm not surprised by this result. Maybe I thought it might have been a little bit closer, but yeah, it was a beatdown.
And my last football pick or thing was a local guy, Blake Hance, guy from Jacksonville, went to Northwestern, got released from the 49ers, goes back to Jacksonville, where he was originally drafted from. So we'll see if he gets back in. He's only had 9 snaps on the year between offensive line and special teams. So
best of luck.
See if he gets in a little bit down there in Jacksonville.
He just might.
A little local guy shout out.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go to the golf.
Last weekend we had the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Winner Seamus Power won $1.2 million, shot 19 under. And then this weekend we have the Worldwide Technology Championship, basically just known as the Mayakoba 2022, but defending champion Victor Hovland at El Camaleon Golf Course at Mayakoba in Quintana Roo, Mexico.
Bit of a better field this week than last week, so we'll see how it goes, I suppose.
Future betting picks though on other fields like the Bermuda Championship, we probably won't be picking them.
Fair to say. All right, let's get into college hoops. Season begins next Monday, November 7th. A lot of games going down. You'll have all the early season tournaments and such. Should be very, very exciting. And I might as well give out my top 25, which has only been spoken publicly on one other network or forum. So here we go. I might as well do this thing. My top 25. Usually there's teams in the front of this that don't work out as well. Eventually, I think maybe Texas a couple years ago was one that I had really high that were bad. And yeah, so all right, let's do it. I guess I'll go 1 through 25. I'll just do my top 10 first, just to slow down. Number 1 is Houston. Number 2 is Gonzaga. 3 is North Carolina. 4 is Creighton. 5 is Baylor. 6 Kansas. 7 Arkansas. 8 UCLA. 9 San Diego State. 10 Texas. A little bit higher on Creighton than some are. A lot of people have them top 10. I went top 5. I wish I would have ranked Baylor a little bit higher. They have them at 5, but Arkansas also pretty high on, despite the fact there's a ton of newcomers there. 11 through 25 is 11 Texas, or 11 Tennessee, 12 Villanova, 13 TCU, 14 Duke, 15 Arizona, 16 Indiana, 17 Alabama, 18 Texas Tech, 19 Oregon, 20 Illinois, 21 Michigan, 22 UConn, 23 Xavier, 24 Dayton, 25 Virginia, and just missing the cut, Auburn, Notre Dame, and St. Louis. So pretty much 28 teams there. Only 3 Big Ten teams. Notable, the Big Ten not going to be very good this year if I had to guess. I went a little lower on Duke than others. I'm a little bit worried about them, especially early in the season, given how young they are with a new coach. I think they're going to come out the gates a little bit slower, which they'll probably be fine given the talent there, but I'm not going to be as high on them as others. I think some people have them in like the 6, 7, 8, 9 range. I think that 14 is,
which is respectable. I mean, it's also John Shire's first year at the helm by himself,
with a lot of new players too. And I think Dariq Whitehead, I don't even think he's healthy to start the season, so that's probably an issue. Lively, obviously, everybody thinks he's going to be a stud. I think he will be, but I think it's going to take some time. So,
but no Coach K, losing Nolan Smith, a lot of changes there.
Yeah, I think they'll come out a little bit slower. But, I mean, you look at the ACC, I don't think there's a ton of competition for them other than UNC is loaded because they got everybody back and they replace Brady Manick with Pete Nance, who's probably more versatile anyway. And Virginia, I think, will be good. But other than that, it's not that great of a conference going into the season, at least.
Which Virginia could be a different too without their head coach.
We will see. I mean, I don't really have that much else in terms of preview. I feel like you look at the landscape of the sport and there's programs that are really starting to establish themselves every year of being just dominant. And I think Gonzaga has always been that way. Baylor is just consistently good despite how much they've lost in the last few years. Houston is becoming that. Creighton has like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with that roster this year with how many returning players they have and how much youth they have as well. UCLA's back to being consistently good every season. Mick Cronin's done a great job there. I like their team more than others. Arizona seems to be back as well. There's a couple rough years there on the way out for Sean Miller, but they're really good. TCU's another team that has a really good roster that you don't ever see that often. Indiana's got an opportunity with how many returning players they have. Probably the best roster in the Big Ten in terms of a safe pick, because I think Illinois and Michigan are like boom or bust teams. I don't know bust, but like could be really good, could be 10 seed type teams. So season begins on Monday, November 7th. We'll talk more then, and we'll talk about picks and such we'll be doing next week. So
And then what you had the Gonzaga thing.
yeah, Gonzaga AD meeting with Big 12 commissioner to discuss Gonzaga possibly joining the conference. I'm kind of surprised since I thought that the fact they didn't have football would always hurt them, but I'm not that surprised given the fact that Big 12 is going to be losing some stuff in the next few years. So now you want to replace that. Plus, Big 12 basketball is in a great spot already, and losing Texas and Oklahoma is not going to be that big of a loss for basketball.
Well, no, then you'll probably see some Pac-12 teams moving, which then if you're missing a school that doesn't have football, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is probably good for the sport.
And then what was the last? Bill Self. What was the
Bill Self, Kansas, and an assistant self-imposed suspension for 4 games. So
I didn't know it was self-imposed.
yeah, so I don't think the NCAA is actually going to review this until after the season, conveniently, especially since this investigation is going back 5 years. So Kansas trying to get out in front of it by self-imposing a suspension on Bill Self and an assistant. So it's stupid, but whatever. I think he's going to miss one of their big games to start the season. They play Michigan State. I think they play Michigan State. Let me check.
Like one of the early tournaments.
No, they played Duke. They played Duke. Third game of the year is against Duke. So he'll miss Nebraska, Omaha. They'll win that by 30. North Dakota State, they'll win that by 25 at least. Then he'll miss the Duke game and Southern Utah. So
is that actually at a home court, or is that like in New York or something?
that's the College Hoops Classic, I believe is what it's called. This game is at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
What is that?
Indianapolis, yes. Usually they're at MSG for that little series they have with Michigan State, and so Michigan State and Kentucky will play there as well.
Might be one to go to.
Who knows? All right, Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you had the Dodgers third baseman Justin Turner wins the Roberto Clemente Award. And then you had the Gold Glove winners announced. American League pitcher Shane Bieber of Cleveland, catcher Jose Trevino of New York, first baseman Vlad Guerrero Jr. of Toronto, second base Andres Jimenez from Cleveland, third baseman Roman Urias of Baltimore, shortstop Jeremy Pena of Houston, left fielder Stephen Kwan of Cleveland, center field Miles Straw of Cleveland, right fielder Kyle Tucker of Houston, utility was DJ LeMahieu of New York, National League pitcher Max Fried of Atlanta, catcher JT Realmuto of Philly, first baseman Christian Walker of Arizona, second baseman Brendan Rodgers of Colorado, third baseman for his 10th straight year, Nolan Arenado of St. Louis, shortstop Dansby Swanson of Atlanta, left fielder Ian Happ of the Cubs, center field Trent Grisham of the Padres, right fielder Mookie Betts of the Dodgers, and utility Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals, which you and me are both surprised. Tommy Edman was nominated in second base and utility, didn't get either. But, I mean, Donovan played all over as well, so at least it was one of them.
Yeah, and Brendan Rodgers had really good numbers at second base, so I understand it, I guess. But either way.
And then my other thing before we get to yours was home plate umpire Pat Hoberg who called Game 2 of the World Series, called a 100% perfect game. Called 100% strike accuracy and a 100% ball accuracy. Didn't miss a single call.
I mean, that's pretty good in the World Series especially, so not too bad. The Phillies, they hit 5 homers last night in the rescheduled World Series Game 3. I mean, Lance McCullers was bad. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. People think he was tipping pitches. I mean, he said he wasn't, but he might have been.
Oh, and lastly, the Kansas City Royals are hiring Matt Quatraro as their new manager. He's 48, has been the Rays bench coach, and also worked in Cleveland. He's adored among players, coaches, and execs, and is regarded as the ideal type to shepherd the Royals' young core.
We'll see.
So right now in the World Series, the Phillies are up 2-1 in the series. Is Game 4 tonight?
I think so, yeah.
I didn't know if they pushed it back because Game 3 being rescheduled.
Game 4 is tonight, 7:03.
Phillies could be up big or it could be tied. If Verlander's pitching, odds are Phillies are going to be up big.
It's Christian Javier.
It's a good thing for the Astro fans.
Aaron Nola, Aaron Nola's been a little shaky last couple starts, so we'll see. Player of the week.
Yeah.
I'm going Kyle Schwarber. Feels like it's like the third time I've picked him in like the last 2 months, but I'll roll with it.
I think I had him last week.
Yeah, 3 for 10, 3 runs, a homer, 2 RBIs, 1,062 OPS. He had a home run that was almost a home run. It was a foul ball in game 2, I believe. So, yeah.
I didn't want to pick a Phillies player, so I went with Houston right fielder Kyle Tucker. It was only 3 for 12. He had 2 runs, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 9 total bases, 1 walk, a 1.058 OPS.
Yeah, he had a great start to the series. Most of that was in the first game, I believe.
And then got awarded a Gold Glove yesterday.
There you go. All right, let's go to the NHL. The St. Louis Blues and Toronto Maple Leafs not focusing on or considering coaching changes after slow starts. I would think that the Leafs are more likely to make a move there than the Blues would be, but I've been surprised before.
It's the only time I don't watch your tweets is during hockey season, because I know you're watching the entire Blues game and you talk about everything.
Details matter. Former Blue, Tage Thompson, first-round pick, traded to Buffalo in the Ryan O'Reilly trade. 6-point game on Halloween against the Red Wings. 3 goals, 3 assists. He's the 3rd player ever to score 6 points on Halloween, which is a weird stat for people to keep. But the other 2 are Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Clark. So that's good company there for Tage.
And this is 6 points on Halloween just against the Red Wings.
Yeah. They beat him up 8-3. It was a beatdown by Buffalo, which is something you can't say very often. NHL stat leaders through November 1st. Points, shocker, it's Connor McDavid, who had 4 last night. He's got 22 points. He also leads in goals with 11. Assists, his teammate Leon Draisaitl with 16. He had 5 points last night.
They're on the same line, right?
I don't know. They mix it up a lot. I think they prefer to have McDavid as the first-line center and Draisaitl as the second-line center. But they're obviously getting a lot of points on the power play, too, where they are together. But as of right now, McDavid is with Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl is with Kane and Yamamoto. So, but they're on the ice plenty. Man advantage. Wins leader is still Linus Ullmark of the Bruins with 7. And then save percentage leader is still Jake Ottinger, who did get hurt, but he got a .952 in 7 games, so it counts. Then team points leaders tie between Boston at 9-1-0 and Vegas at 9-2-0, both teams with 18 points with new coaches, one of which went from Boston to Vegas. The other one went from St. Louis to Boston. So
I like it.
Hot starts for veteran teams is how I would define those two. Let's go to college football, the top 25. Number 1 is still...
Before we get into that, you had a head coaching firing in Auburn. They fire Harsin after less than 2 seasons, and their interim head coach is their 2004 running back, Cadillac Williams, stepping in to coach the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, it was a disaster. That was probably a move that had to be made. And we'll see where they go with it. I heard rumblings of Lane Kiffin. I mean, I wouldn't be that surprised, but you never know.
I'm still surprised that they fired Gus Malzahn, but
Yep. Top 25, number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Tennessee and Ohio State flip. Ohio State goes to 3. Michigan and Clemson stay at 4 and 5.
this is also the AP top 25, even though
Yeah.
the college football playoff did come out.
That's Tennessee at 1.
Yeah, and also it had Wake Forest, NC State back. It had LSU at like 10. But Alabama stays at 6, TCU stays at 7, Oregon stays at 8, USC up 1 to 9, UCLA up 2 to number 10.
Ole Miss up 4 to 11, Utah up 2 to 12, Kansas State up 9 to 13, Illinois up 3 to 14, LSU up 3 to 15.
When's the last time Illinois has been ranked this high?
2007 probably. If I had to guess. They were Rose Bowl that season.
Is that when they had like Mendenhall?
Yeah. Those guys.
16, Penn State down 3, North Carolina up 4 to 17, Oklahoma State down 9 to 18, Tulane up 4 to 19, and Wake Forest down 10 to number 20.
NC State up 3 to 21, Syracuse down 6 to 22, Liberty, Oregon State, and UCF 23, 24, 25, just getting into the rankings. All right, let's do the picks. Last week,
crazy that Oregon State is somehow into the rankings.
It is bizarre. Last week for me, not good. Saved myself with 2-0 in the NHL, 2-0 in the NBA, but I was 3-5 in college football, 2-6 in the NFL. Did get one golfer, 10-11 on the week, 547 and 437 overall.
You said you had a bad week, and here I thought I'm going to gain on you. I mean, I went 12-9, but I was 0 for 2 in the NHL, 0 for 2 in the NBA. I did get Seamus Power to win, and then I was 5-3 in college football and 6-2 in the NFL.
All right.
I don't know. I thought the Utah game was a lock against Washington State. They only won by 4. And then I had Oklahoma State plus 1.5, and they lost 48-0.
Yeah, that was a beatdown of epic proportions, no doubt about it. All right,
let's wanted to make a statement.
That they did. Let's do the golf, the Mayakoba, Worldwide Technologies, whatever it's called. Who you got?
Man, I even shuffled my things around for how you normally go, and he just flipped it again.
Well, this is the lesser event of everything that we do, pretty much.
To win, I have Scotty Scheffler plus 900, Victor Hovland plus 1,000, Billy Horschel plus 1,600.
I got Morikawa plus 1,600, Jason Day plus 4,500, and of course Davis Riley plus 8,000.
My top 5 is Colin Morikawa plus 400, and my top 10 is Seamus Power plus 450. He's been playing well so far this year.
Top 5, Tom Hoagie plus 600, of course, and top 10, JT Poston plus 550.
You really vultured Tom Hogue away from me.
Yep. Let's do NHL for Thursday.
I got the Bruins plus 105 over the Rangers, and the Islanders plus 105 over the Blues.
Something's got to give with the Blues. They're not going to lose 6 in a row. I'll take a minus 125 against the Islanders. And then I'll take the Devils. Scrappy Devils team scored a lot of goals. I'll have them surprising the Oilers at plus 140 in Edmonton. I think that's going to be like an 8-7 or a 7-6 game. So,
I'm really glad that we don't pick NHL games for Wednesday. I'm glad we switched that last year.
There's never any games on Wednesday. It's like
there's been like 3, and then tonight there's 2.
It's because of TNT, yeah. NBA picks for Wednesday. Wednesday's the NBA ESPN night, but there's a lot more games than the national games.
I got the Pelicans minus 3 over the Lakers. Even though the Lakers have been looking better since they put Russell Westbrook as their 6th man to come in and be their scoring threat when LeBron and AD and everybody are off the court.
It's not bad.
And then I have the Jazz plus 6.5 over the Mavs.
I just want to note that last week I picked the Bucks to beat the Nets and the Nuggets to beat the Lakers with the spread, and both games were 110-99. I feel like that doesn't happen often. Both ESPN games were the same score. Very weird. I got the Cavs +1 against the Celtics tonight, and then I have the Bulls -4.5 against the Hornets. All right, college football, 5 power conference games.
ACC, I have Clemson -3.5 over Notre Dame.
I have Georgia Tech +3 at Virginia Tech.
Big 12, Kansas State +2.5 over Texas.
Oklahoma State got embarrassed last week. I'll take them -2 at Kansas.
Big 10, I got Purdue -4.5 over Iowa. Every other Big Ten spread was huge.
Yeah, I'm turning my back on Rutgers after last week's embarrassment. I picked them last week against Minnesota. They didn't score any points. I'll take Michigan -26. I hope Michigan beats them by 50 over Rutgers.
And I want to take that Michigan State game, but I don't know how many players are going to be suspended for the game and everything after what happened after the Michigan State game.
Yeah.
Pac-12, I have UCLA -10.5 over Arizona State.
I have California +21 at USC. Why not?
And then SEC, I have South Carolina -7 over Vandy.
I have Kentucky, Pick'em against Missouri. No spread, Pick'em, easy money.
And then our 3 primetime games, you got number 2 Tennessee at number 1 Georgia. Georgia's an 8-point favorite.
Tennessee's answered the bell every big game this season, but I think Georgia is going to remind everybody who they are. Georgia -8.
That before today it was 8.5, but I'm still gonna do it. I'm taking Tennessee, and then I'm also hoping the Bucks can somehow draft Tennessee's quarterback.
There you go.
Who I think should win the Heisman.
Probably will if they continue to win like this.
Second game, number 6 Alabama at number 15 LSU. Bama's a 13.5-point favorite.
I've picked against Alabama enough, so I'm not going to do it here. I'll take Alabama -13.5.
I'm taking it too, even though LSU somehow keeps rising up to the ranks now. I think someone's got to stop them. And if Bama loses here, they're probably out of the playoffs.
Oh, they're out, yeah. If they lose, they're out, yeah.
So I don't think Saban is going to be wanting that.
No.
And lastly, you got number 20 Wake Forest at 21 NC State. Wake Forest is a 4-point favorite.
I'll take Wake Forest -4. I don't. NC State's been such a disappointing team this season, so
I'm as well taking that. The only other game that was the decent ranked matchup would have been the Kansas State-Texas game, but we had Kansas State 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. I think everybody's seen enough of them for a couple weeks, so.
But I still picked them in my Big 12 matchup. But
that's true.
It wasn't one of our prime time games.
The NFL Thursday night.
Eagles at Texans. Eagles are a 14-point favorite. I'm taking the Eagles.
I'm always hesitant with undefeated teams. I think the Texans are going to surprise some people and lose this game by 13, so I'll take the Texans +14.
There is a loss on the board for Ethan.
Probably so, but I'm willing to take the risk.
My 5 Sunday games, which, by the way, there's only one 3:05 game and one 3:25 game. Everything else is noon and the Sunday night game.
Yep.
I don't know why this Sunday that's the deal, or if it's because of the voting thing, but even though the voting thing's Tuesday, the Ravens still got to get home to do that.
A lot of bye. There's 6 teams on a bye this week, I think, so that takes away 3 games right there.
But I got the Dolphins -5 over the Bears, Packers -4 over the Lions, Raiders -1.5 over the Jags. Hopefully they can bounce back after the Saints embarrassed them. the Vikings -3.5 over the Commanders, and the Cardinals -2 over the Seahawks.
I will take the Vikings -3.5 over the Commies. Jets +12.5 against the Bills. Colts +5.5 at the Patriots. Jaguars +1.5 against the Raiders, and the Bengals -7.5 against the Panthers.
You just
And-
have to always pick one game against me.
And saying that, I don't have any confidence in these picks. So Sunday night,
You got the Titans at Chiefs. Chiefs are a 12.5 point favorite. Taking the Chiefs.
yeah, yep, easy pick. Monday night,
You got the Ravens at the Saints. Ravens are a 2.5 point favorite. I am taking the Ravens.
as am I. All
I
right,
think the Saints are still going to be without their back end with Lattimore and their safety. Michael Thomas will probably still be hurt with whatever's bothering him this week.
yep, it's going to be an ugly one, I think. All right, that will do it for us. We'll be back next week for number 85. Lots more to discuss. College basketball will be underway by then. We'll have picks for that and a lot more. So we'll see you next week for number 85.